Growing up with a family of artists, I have been exposed to all forms of art my entire life. I have been in the publishing industry for 10 years and 15 years doing advertising work. Today, I am part of the pioneering team of Vogue Philippines as their art director, and I am also a jury and mentor for global emerging talents under Photo Vogue. At the very core of it all, though, the way I see creativity is quite simple. By definition, creativity has the ability to produce, formulate, or generate new and original ideas and outputs. However, what we often forget about this creative process is that while the results could be infinite, we are also only limited by our available resources and knowledge. Simply put, if we at Vogue Philippines were to come up with a contemporary or future-forward story about Filipino fashion, we can really only go as far as how deep our well of research will take us. And utilizing all these information in order for us to create something that is new. An example of this is a story we have done in our December-January issue 2 years ago. The future of fashion. Here, we envision to translate real-life straight from the runway collections of Ternos or the Balintawak to be reimagined in a dreamlike depiction of a paradise or a paraiso in the world of the metaverse. Beginning with editorial photographs from Shira Luna, these clothes were digitally rendered and translated and remodeled into 3D forms by creative teams from Lablaco in Singapore and DressX from Los Angeles. Even the models used in this story had to be manually collected with consent and digitally generated from 1,000 Filipino faces in order for our 3D model artist, Ivan Medrano, to mold virtual muses for this modern-day story. As for the terrains, we have worked with landscape artist Bianca Carage to imagine what an otherworldly Filipino paradise could look like, with lush green mountains, painterly skies, convergence of land and water, and even an abundance of pearls. With constant Zoom calls, just to exchange ideas, countless hours to render, and sleepless nights between all creative collaborators, all these elements were weaved into these intricate editorial imaginings of what a future of Filipino fashion could look like as it comes to reality, or in this case, virtual reality. Needless to say, this story took so much work, research, and resources. And the funny thing is, we could have done this story with the emergence of AI. With generative AI, anyone can have the incredible ability to create content based on any prompts they choose to input. In other words, whatever the mind can conceive, AI can probably achieve. As tempting and as alluring as that prospect may be, we must also realize that AI's capabilities are also only limited by the data and information that we humans have provided AI throughout history, allowing it to formulate even something close to what we are imagining. To be honest, it may have been much easier if we had used generative AI to make this story come to life, especially right at our fingertips. But why didn't we? For one, we can lose the integrity of the story to create a virtual world that is inherently Filipino. The nuances, the intricacies of what makes this story rooted in our culture could be lost in translation with AI. Second, we would have little to none when it comes to the discernment of what it can generate. Yes, there will be room for countless revisions until you reach a point of satisfaction of what it can render for us. But that also comes with the danger of knowing where all their visuals have rooted from. And finally, in spite of its rapid growth, AI is still at its infancy when it comes to its bank of resources. Given this first example, if you are to ask me if AI can be an anti-innovator, perhaps yes. If we humans ever reach a point of complacency and dismiss the value of integrity, then we are in for a dangerous path. Which is why it has also become a pressing and social responsibility for media and journalism to shape our ways of creating content and storytelling devoid of misinformation and with great respect for authenticity. We at Vogue Philippines take this responsibility and accountability very seriously. As journalists and creators, we believe in the power of content to be a force for good in this world. The only time we allow ourselves to venture and produce visuals with the use of generative AI is when we are actually reporting an explanatory story on AI and if they are integral to the storytelling itself. In this case, our content must also be clearly labeled as a product of generative AI. Even social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok has taken on this responsibility to put a notice on altered photos or any types of content that, just to clarify, whenever users publish AI-generated content. Yes, there is still definitely a lot to be done when it comes to managing the dangers of misinformation in the emergence of generative AI. And quite frankly, this effort to instill accountability should be practiced and addressed by all of us, not just by people in the media and journalism industry. Just imagine if we ever become so dependent with what AI can do for us, or simply believe anything we simply see or read to be true, then we are undoubtedly treading a path that can cause a significant decline to human creativity and innovation. But my question is, what makes human creativity distinctly unique? Besides the very basic definition of creativity that I have shared earlier, human creativity can go much, much deeper than just generating new ideas or outputs. We have this underlying ability to spark curiosity and think critically. That very curious mind that allows us to question things, to see things from multiple perspectives, and to rationalize thoughts to form new ones are all intrinsic traits and abilities that separate us from artificial intelligence. For easier recall, I call this as the 3 C's of human intelligence: creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking. Of course, that is not to say that AI will not or cannot learn these traits in the future. Again, I'm not trying to be cynical, but it is a possibility, especially if we fall prey to our reliance on AI and slowly forget to harness our 3 C's of human intelligence. Relatively, there is a podcast actually that's been published by the Business of Fashion on how to turn our fear of AI into optimism, where they talk about how we humans actually have the opportunity to teach AI to be a force for good. This is quite an interesting topic for you guys to listen to at your own time. But fair warning, if you guys think I'm trying to scare you guys today, wait till you hear them. Though to be fair, I do agree with the perspective that humanity actually has the power and opportunity to teach AI for the greater good. This is where human morality and ethics come into play. Though to be fair, beyond just generative AI, it is believed and projected that the rapid growth and integration of AI in our day-to-day lives will be inevitable. In fact, it is already happening today. However, in this future, AI will not only be a tool to support us, but it will have the abilities to make decisions on its own. But AI's ability to learn this will also be heavily dependent on how we humans will make decisions. More like raising a child, the more good AI will be exposed to, the more inclinations it will have to develop decision-making skills and traits for the betterment of humanity. If we rewind back to about 30 years ago, a great example and reflection for this dilemma today is the birth and emergence of the internet. Back then, humans have also faced a significant polarizing concern when internet access had become public. The power of the internet brought fears that everything will become automated, jobs will be replaced, books or publications will cease to exist, and even the very same threat of misinformation will plague this technological advancement. And in this time, humanity was faced with a crossroad. But it wasn't a question whether or not the internet was good or evil. It was simply a question whether we humans will utilize this powerful tool to contribute to chaos or use it for the greater good. Today, 30 years down the line, though it may not be perfect, we have been able to overcome those fears and threats from the emergence of the internet. With the help of our moral compass, combined with our inherent 3 C's of human intelligence, we have been able to adapt, innovate, and evolve. Now, if you were to ask me at this point of the talk if AI can be an anti-innovator, my answer will be yes and no. At this point, we are also in a crossroad. We have 2 paths, and we are faced with similar fears and dilemmas. With AI, will everything be automated? Will it replace certain jobs? Will it promote more misinformation? Unfortunately, the answers are all yes. As scary as that may seem, that also just means that we humans must take a huge leap forward in order for us to use our moral compass to adapt, pivot, and evolve into grander things that artificial intelligence will not be able to do. And at the end of the day, it is solely up to us to realize our power and opportunity for this advancement to do more good than harm for humankind. As I've mentioned earlier, we at Vogue Philippines truly believe that creativity and storytelling can be a force for good, and even a force for change. And with that, we should also not be averse to learning and exploring the potential of AI to be used as a tool to further creativity and innovations. Another editorial example we have done for our first anniversary gala in 2023 was an exploration on the future of sustainability in Philippine fashion through the lens of AI. This story was in collaboration with creative director Vince Uy, who had envisioned a world where Philippine art, technology, culture, even our natural resources all come together to make up these visualizations. Now, even though this particular editorial received polarizing views in social media, the discussions and commentaries that have emerged from this are all valid. You should have produced a real editorial instead. You should have used local models, Filipino designers for this story. Yes, those concerns are very much valid. But in a much bigger scope of storytelling, we have actually planned our exhibition to be an immersive journey of Philippines' past, present, and future, where this imagined future is only one of the many displays on that event. And we cannot deny the existence of AI to be a part of that future. But I must admit, as we were working on this particular editorial and exhibition, we have actually encountered a number of limitations with generative AI. For instance, generating Filipino faces and depictions of diverse beauty can be quite challenging. And the standards of beauty at the time that have been fed and made available for AI to generate its images from are too well ingrained with a westernized perspective. Like I said, creativity can really only go as far as your bank of resources. Now, it is both a challenge and a responsibility for us to ensure that we deepen and expand our resources in order to create more than what is already available. At this point, if you are to assess again whether or not AI is an anti-innovator, my answer would be no, and it shouldn't be. Just imagine, in the context of diversity alone, if we Filipinos collectively stop creating, stop innovating, stop telling stories of our culture, tradition, and knowledge with the rest of the world, then in about 50 to 100 years' time, the information about Filipinos, about the Philippines, will just be a speck of dust among a massive array of information about the world or the universe. We cannot stop. In fact, this should even propel us to keep creating and innovating, because not only will that open opportunities for us to enrich our capabilities as human beings, but it will also provide greater wealth for AI to grow with information and even preserve our knowledge as humankind. This is why we at Vogue Philippines truly believe in championing inspiring Filipino stories beyond just fashion. Whether it's through stories on culture and heritage, showcasing diversity and technology and inclusivity, and discovering emerging talents from all walks of life and various fields, all of these stories matter. As we continue to stay creative, remain passionately curious, and maintain to be critical thinkers and responsible storytellers, there is no limit to inspiring stories and innovation that we can share beyond our pages. Now, from your perspective, is AI an anti-innovator? I will leave that to your own three C's to make a conclusion. Thank you.